Welcome to the Late Game Podcast, a podcast about all things board gaming, from rolling dice to painting minis and everything in between. I'm your host, Tyler, and with me is Russ.
How are you?
And Kenneth.
What up?
So, the response from listeners so far has been pretty awesome. It's been a tremendous amount of fun to record and produce this podcast, but listeners have really helped quite a bit to take it to that next level. So, thanks again, guys. And
thanks, everybody.
yeah, definitely. And if you'd like to help the podcast along, just leave us a review, tell friends about it, give us feedback about what we're doing well or what we could improve on. These are the best ways at this point to help.
Any subjects they want us to talk about?
Exactly, yeah. Anything you want us to cover, let us know. So, let's talk about what we've been playing lately. How about you, Kenneth?
Let's see. So last night we threw down on, what was that? Alien Frontiers, which is, it's a dice placement game. It's like worker placement, but so you roll your dice and, depending on what numbers come up, you can place them in different areas on the board and you can kind of like set different challenges for the other people. So there's certain spaces that you have to place a die that is of equal or higher value than the last one that was placed or whatever. So if you throw down a 6 from the start, it limits people's access to it. It felt like a very, very interactive worker placement game. I mean, it's obviously indirect interaction like with any worker placement game, but there isn't, like, you place all of your stuff on your turn, and then the next person picks up all of their old stuff and then rolls it and places it back out. So you're not just doing, I don't place one. It's not just I place one and then you place one and then Russ places one. It's I place all, you start off with 3 dice and you can buy up to 6. And there's a bonus die that you can get from like a special ability.
Is that going to be permanent, the bonus die, or is it kind of like it comes and goes as you earn it and use it?
So the other element of the game is there's an element of territory control. So you're placing dice, and the idea is that you're building these colonies that you then send down to this planet. And the different areas of the planet give you a special ability, and one of those areas gives you that extra die. But it's a majority thing, so if I'm the first one to place a colony there, I'm the first one to get access to it.
Okay.
If you place a colony there, then we're tied. It goes back to the center. And then one of us would have to regain the majority. So if you place a second one there before I can place a second one there, then you have access to that.
Okay, nice.
So it kind of goes back and forth, and it's got that. It's a pretty tight little area majority control type of mechanic. And that's another area where you can really mess with people. It's a little bit more direct. At one point, I took one of Alex's, I was playing with my buddy Tristan and Alex, and I took one of their colonies and used a special card and moved one of their colonies from one spot to another and basically put them both equal with each other in 2 different areas. Like I took away an ability from each of them by moving one colony. And it was really cool. It was Alex just wrecked me early on. He kept rolling exactly the right stuff to just kind of keep me beat down, and I wasn't rolling anything good.
Rough.
But it was cool. It was a fun game. I liked it. I wouldn't mind trying it again. I understand there's some other expansions and stuff that Alex didn't have, but I really liked it.
That's awesome. It's one that I've actually had my eye on, trying to find some time to play. I don't own it, but I'd love to sit down and play it with Alex and you guys.
Yeah, I'm not like in a giant hurry to get it, but if I saw it on sale, I would probably do it. And mostly I'm not in a giant hurry to get it because I've got so many worker placement games at this point that,
right.
I mean, I love them. I really like that genre, but I'm up to my ears in worker placement, and I just, even though this one is a good, unique take on it, I'm not quite dying for it. Maybe another play or two, and I would change my mind. But if I saw it on sale, I'd probably pick it up.
Well, to keep the theme rolling with dice placement, last night we also played Role Player after I showed up after you guys finished Alien Frontiers.
Yeah.
And I think that art is phenomenal. The art is one of the things that drew me in, and it's been one of the main reasons why I've wanted to play it in the first place. It's a 1 to 4 player game designed by Keith Matechka? Weird last name.
Keith M.
Keith M. That works. It's a hell of a lot easier to say. It's published by Thunderworks Games, and it's kind of the start of many different games in that universe, which I think is an interesting take, and it's a good universe to continue on with.
Yeah, it's kind of generic fantasy. Like, I mean, the whole hook of Role Player is it's a game about building a character for a role-playing game.
Right.
So you're putting the dice placement, and you're placing them into the different stats for like your attack, your strength, your dex, your constitution, all of that.
And we played it with the expansion. What is the name of that expansion? Monsters and something?
Yeah. I don't remember.
Well,
Monsters
anyway,
and Minions, maybe?
I think so. And I think that without that, it might be a little bit of a slow game.
So the first couple of times I played it, it was before I got the Monsters and Minions expansion, and that absolutely immediately felt like an essential type of expansion.
It's kind of like a Valhalla on Champions thing.
Yeah, I didn't mind it without it, but having played it with it, I wouldn't ever play it without it again.
Yeah.
And it's a harder sell to try and get someone. Do you want to play a game about making a character in a role-playing game? Well, what do? Well, we make it, and then we're done. It's a little bit easier to say, we fight some monsters along the way, and at the end we have a big battle with the thing, which is what the Monsters and Minions adds to it. So, I would call that an essential expansion.
And kind of similar to Feast for Odin, I went in with a game plan, and I thought I was doing a hell of a lot better throughout the entire game. And then when it came to scoring, I found out that I am not good at this game, just like I wasn't very great at initially at A Feast for Odin. I think I was at like half of what you guys both were. But it's something I definitely, now that I kind of know the structure and the importance of certain things, I'm going to go into it a lot better next time. It's something I would like to try again.
Most of the information is out there in the open. It's just knowing exactly what you're looking at.
Yeah.
If you've never played the game, you don't necessarily know what you're going for. And I know that I'm not the best at explaining rules, so I probably kind of glossed over something, and it probably clicked halfway through the game for you or whatever.
No, it was all right as far as the explanation went. I think another part of the problem in my scoring was the dice that I needed weren't coming out. And me and Alex were also kind of fighting for the same color of dice. So that stifled a little bit of my progress.
So I haven't played it, but do you draft the dice almost like Sagrada, where you're...
I've never played Sagrada. So
I haven't either.
The way that it works is you kind of take turns being the start player. I used air quotes that all of you people listening could see.
They were good.
And so the start player draws out one more die than how many players there are. So we were playing with 3, then there ends up being 4 spaces on the thing, and rolls them, places them on these cards that are then your initiative based on wherever they want them to be. So you can plan on either, all right, I know this is the one that I want, and I want to be first this turn, so you place it on the first initiative. The ones in the middle, so if there's 4 of them, you've got 1 is your first initiative, 2, 3, 4, and then on the 2 and the 3, the ones in the middle, you have they get a coin every round, and coins are used in another part of
in the market.
Further the next phase of the round, you can buy stuff from the market. So you can kind of place them where you want them, and you can look around. And so I go, all right, I know that Russ is going for white dice, and this one rolled pretty high, so I'm going to put it all the way at the end. I'm going to make him go last. Slot. He's going to choose it last, and then that the initiative score is what you use to determine who goes to the market first. The market fully resets every round. It's also during the market phase that you can battle monsters and gear up for the final battle and stuff with the expansion. But yeah, so one player kind of rolls 4 dice. You end up picking 3 of them. You pitch the last one back into the bag at the start of the next person's turn. They draw out 4 new ones, roll them, and then each category of your stats, there's like a special ability linked to it. Like one of them, when you place a die there, you can flip any die on your board so they go to the opposite side. So a 1 becomes a 6, a 2 becomes a 5.
I thought that was a really cool mechanic in the game, how every different attribute would affect something in the way that you placed it. I liked that quite a bit.
Yeah, there's a reroll. There's one where you can make a die value go up or down, and then you score. One of, like, the place where you score some of the most points is getting each of your stats into a certain range scores you points, and then there's also like placing certain colored dice in certain places on your board, and there's an alignment mechanic, and it's very much there. It also, I like have a pad of paper that I can then, once I'm done with the game and I've completed creating this character, I can write down those stats and use it in an actual RPG if I wanted to.
And that's kind of cool.
I think it's an awesome idea. I don't ever see myself doing it aside from maybe for the novelty of doing it in like a one shot. Like,
yeah,
but they
let's play a game.
To extend that universe, right? I think they're looking at adding.
Well, they've got 3 separate games in it now. They've got role player and then lockup, which looks like an area control worker placement-y type of game.
And that has some of the coolest components ever. He popped it open and we punched it and we're looking at some of that stuff, and it's got this little gel thing where everybody's locked up, and these little jail cells basically have each character that you're going to use throughout the game in it, and just another one of those little touches that goes along.
Yeah, it's like a little card holder that you slide. Each faction has a color associated with it, and you slide it into this card holder, and then you've got a panoramic image of all of your different characters in jail. And it's pretty cool.
I want to try that one.
And then Cartographers is another one in that same universe that's a roll and write about making maps. That and I hope that they will maybe try and make like some sort of role-playing actual book that you could that fits better, because the thing about like importing one of those characters into a D&D 5th edition campaign is it's not going to be optimized. So I feel like they need to maybe make their own role-playing rules where it fits a little better with not being fully optimized, or optimization is more tuned into the goals of the game role player. But I would be down with doing like a one shot. Like,
sure,
we made these characters, you know, we're gonna spend a day, we're gonna play a game of role player, then we're gonna throw those characters into like a one shot adventure. We're gonna go run through a dungeon and fight a small dragon or whatever, and kind of let it go from there. Just be done with it.
Yeah.
I'd be down with that, but it's an awesome idea, and it's a cool universe, and I'm excited to see what they do with it.
For sure.
There is another Kickstarter on the way that I ordered that's another expansion for role player, and that's exciting too.
Well, what about you, Russ? Did you play a dice placement game? Just to keep with the theme of what we've done.
One of us.
Square placement game. I've been playing Tapestry. I know that is a game that is hot.
Never heard of it.
Nope. What's it about?
For a lot of people.
Is it about flags?
Yeah. Yeah, it's about building your tapestry, a nice little flag you can.
Nice.
It's a fun game. I'll give my full thoughts in a future episode.
What's
but I
the
really
player
like
count
it. It's
on that?
4 or 5.
Nice.
I've played it a number of times. I've played it at 2. It really works. I enjoy it. I think some of it is what you expect when you go in. It's not a traditional civilization builder.
And that one's Stonemeyer, right?
Yep.
So was it actually Jamie Stegmaier that did that? Because I know that he's been publishing other people's designs lately.
Yeah, it's his.
Right on.
So it's
Is it living up to the hype for you? I mean, if anyone is interested in the board game hobby, circa, at the time of we're recording, like 3 weeks ago, it was like the most talked about thing for a week or two.
Yeah. It did for me, but I knew what it was before I got it. Like I watched how to play videos, and I was watching a lot of videos of people talking about it, and I was interested, but the how to play really pushed it. It's a fun game. I mean, it's not a world ender. It's not civilization building. Is something like if you looked at a 4X has to be a civilization builder. It's not that, because it's not about crushing. To me, it's almost more of a expanded wingspan, if that makes sense, simply because it's how much I can do and making this
like
do what I want it to do.
Like
but I don't have to
engine buildery type of thing.
Yeah, and it's I like it. I mean,
yeah,
no game is perfect, and if you go into games, and I know people get all upset because games don't live up to hype. Well, the hype was created because people were excited about it. I mean, live up to the hype is what? I mean, not that many people had played it, and only 10,000 copies went out to the pre-order, so it's not like 20,000 copies are out there.
What number did you get?
I don't even know. 10,006.
Oh, some 31. Fan you are.
I forgot. It's like 10,631, I think. So the first run was 25,000. The first pre-order was 10,000, but they didn't. The numbers are completely random. They didn't put the time in to be like, oh, this 10,000 is going to go here. This is going to go there.
Right.
So
interesting.
That's cool, then I played Pride. Oh man.
What is that?
That's my lion territory control game. You control Africa with your lion pride.
I thought that was called Roar.
I thought.
Roar. What did I say? Pride?
You said Pride.
Yeah. Oh no, it's Roar. Sorry.
I was like, dude, how many of these lion games do you have?
Same thought I had. I was like, man, really? Is that like a new thing? We got train games and we got lion pride games.
No, it's Roar, and I am not gonna lie. I was very angry after that game. Pretty heated. I got mad at my son and told him he broke one of my favorite games. Because so it was a 3-player game. The game plays actually up to 6. And it's a pretty small map for territory control for 6 players. But it works because of how it's played. Well, the other 2 players cornered me off into part of Africa, so I actually was able to reproduce and build up this just amazing pride. That when the walls came down, I just kind of moved in and crushed. And so the third player was kind of in between me and my son, and he required to get around to him. I had to do some things and sacrifice some things and take away some lions, that kind of stuff. And then my son was just like, he was almost removed after like 2 rounds. So it has a ticket to ride mechanic in the sense that you can take a card and fulfill a task, where it's like enter Zimbabwe, you get 2 points. So he just kept doing that, and then was able to just spread a little bit, and that dang sucker won. And I was like, you just drew cards the whole time. So I was really angry.
Did you roar at him like a lion?
No.
Keep that little cub in place.
And I was like, you did nothing. And then he was like, well, let's remove the cards from the game. I was like, can't do that. And I was like full in design. I was like, well, why did they do that? Why do you need these? And as frustrating as it was, if anyone would have got to him, like if the other player would have ruined him or not allowed him to just kind of spread a little bit, I still would have won. So the play kind of allowed him to, quote unquote, break the game. But without the cards, like he would have been totally eliminated from the game like 10 minutes in.
Sure.
So, and because they're tasks, there's no way that should happen. He just got lucky. And with player count more, like, cards aren't going to get you a lot of points. Kevin tried that when we played once, and he didn't get very many points. So, like, I was angry with him, but I was like, it was the right play. It took me a day, but it was like, that was the right.
So you got
play.
Emotional over there.
I was like,
That's
and
funny.
it wasn't that I lost. I was really upset.
At the way that you lost?
Yeah, I was like, did you break the game? Did you break this game that I love that I never want to play? Because that's my problem with Ticket to Ride is people will lay down a line across the United States and then just draw cards. You know, it's I do enjoy Ticket to Ride, but I like Ticket to Ride New York that's 15 minutes as opposed to longer.
Yeah.
But, and I know some people have a problem with Roar, but man, I really enjoy it. There's some luck involved. It's a different type of territory control. It can be really, really cutthroat, which is also part of the problem. It was my son's first play.
And you were looking to what, cut his throat? Like you're mad that he did well on his first play?
So the other guy that was playing was pretty ruthless to him because he had...
Who was the other one
He
playing?
had Ryan, our neighbor.
Okay.
He had like 5 babies in this pride, and they have to age like.
Oh, I thought you were just talking Utah stuff.
One round they'll turn into cubs, and the next round they turn into meeples. So it's this aging process. Well, if you get kicked out of where you're at, babies get left behind, and because they can't move. It's like if they fight you, kick you out, and move in, like they eat all your babies.
Ooh.
And he had like 5, and Ryan went in there and was like, boom,
Lunch.
5 gone. Like, did that a few times. So it was like, he was devastated a few times. So he was like, seriously, 10 minutes in was like, oh, I've already lost this. It's like, no, there's ways. Draw cards, do that, do this. So it worked out.
Well, yeah, it sounds like it worked out just fine. He won
right.
against all odds. You should be proud of your son.
I know
What's
some
going
people
on?
don't like it. Because
What about
of
some of
the
that pride you were talking about earlier?
I know.
Before you knew it was called Roar.
Yeah, I know. He's actually really good at analyzing games. And
that honestly,
out strategies.
that sounds a lot like the first play of TI3 for me when we played Twilight Imperium, and your nephew just wrecked me early on, and I like checked out. I was like, whatever, I lost this. I'm going to sit here for the next 4.5-5 hours with these guys and see what I can do. See if I can cause a little bit of chaos. And then I ended up coming another hour or 2 passes by, and I figured out another strategy, and I managed to win. I kind of felt like an asshole, but because I got grumpy halfway through the game.
That happens is, someone will attack in games like that, right? And if there's other players around and then things start shifting, you can easily forget about that player, right?
Yeah.
So it's, man, you got to focus on anyone in those good games. But yeah, I look forward to plays of Roar when I'm playing with people that know, because it is super cutthroat in the sense that, like, each round you actually have little huts that you put on the first few rounds, like 9 rounds or so, and then you start taking them out. Those huts are humans, and you literally put them down, and any lions there get displaced.
Okay.
So that you could, if Ken had a full pride with 2 lions and 7 lionesses, boom, humans there, his pride's dispersed. If he can't exit there, all those lions are dead. So it's like,
Ouch.
Wow, that sounds brutal.
Yeah.
right. So,
I can see the appeal.
when you get 6 people on that map, and they know what they're doing, it's a lot of fun. And it's different kind of battle, right? It's just which pride is bigger. So you don't have to worry about the luck of roll or anything. It's how big can I make my pride? And also, if I don't want to spend time to breed, I can just roar and basically say, hey, lioness, I am a better lion. And they come over and join you instead and take away. So,
Right on.
Why don't we dip into our main feature this week and discuss left brain versus right brain in gaming. So, what does it mean to be left or right brain dominant? Researchers have found that we as humans tend to have a dominant side of our brain, and they've concluded that the dominance resides primarily in one of the two sides, the left or the right. So what exactly does that mean? Well, when it comes to the logical fact-based thought, that is the left brain at work, a more science and math-driven side of the brain. But the imagination, the emotional and creative sides of our brain, that's driven by the right side of the brain. And some studies have concluded that 95% of the world's population is more right brain dominant. Would you guys agree with that?
No. That doesn't seem right at all.
I felt the same way.
Partly it's because, the simple kind of like, I wonder what I am. If you're not sure, generally it kind of goes with your handedness, and it's the opposite. Because the left hemisphere of your brain controls the right side of your body, and vice versa. So generally, if you're right-handed, which most people are, your left side of your brain should be the dominant side.
Interesting. Well, what does that mean as far as when it comes to gaming? In my opinion, tabletop gaming is such a good exercise in the use of both. Whether you're using the left brain or logical side to work out the math in a traditional Euro game, or exploring your creative side by using the right brain to create a new world or scenario in an RPG that you may be running or playing in.
yeah, I think basically you're looking at it is, do I want to sit down and move cubes around in like super Euro game, maybe like Orleans, which I haven't played, but I know it's super Euro, push cubes around.
Yeah.
Or do I want to just fun dice chucker, play the others, and heck, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
See, and I would even say that, like, it's kind of about finding how to, like, whichever side is more dominant for you, how to, like, exercise that in different games. Because I know, I would wager that both of you guys are more right brain than I am. I'm a left brain person. I'm very right-handed. My left hand is really, it's just there for show and balance. It doesn't do much. I can't draw. I'm incapable of art. That's not a thing that I can produce.
That's not true. Your mini was not that bad. It was good.
Yeah, it was fine, but it's that didn't feel like art to me. That felt like I was coloring. You know, like I was looking at pictures and filling in blanks. That's how I saw it. I didn't feel like I was creating a thing. I felt like I was coloring. And coloring can be art, but it's not always art. And oftentimes with coloring, the art is what's on the paper before you put the colors there. You know?
Yeah.
And that's what I felt like it was for me. It turned out it looked good. I'm fine with it.
Whatever you want, Ken. You artistically take down trees all the time.
See, that's what I'm talking about with that left brain. You guys, or we're right brain. You guys are more right brain than me. That's what I'm talking about. So I've seen it with you, Russ, quite a few times where, and I would say it's a obviously it's a bit of both, but where you try to create a different strategy, or you try to do something that it has and make it work that you've not seen done before, and you're not sure exactly how well it will work. To me, that's applying like right brain creativity to left brain methodology.
Right.
And there's a lot of games that it's going to be both. But it's cool when you can find a way to exercise whatever way you think within the various games.
Yeah, I think a left brain player is very much a player that'll sit down and I don't want to say is worried about winning. I mean, I think they're more competitive, but it's definitely I'm going to sit down and I'm going to play this Euro game exactly like I did last time and see if someone can beat me. Like, I don't find that enjoyable, like that whole concept myself. Like if I can sit down at a game and I know exactly what I'm going to do, like what my moves are, and exactly how it's going to result, because there's no variation in the play, like that's not fun to me. That is, I think, fun to some players. Like they enjoy sitting down and doing exactly what they did the night before, just to see how they do.
And I don't see that as a genuine stimulation for like left brain thought. I think of like left brain in gaming. The first thing that comes to mind is playing Sidereal Confluence with Zach. There's our Sidereal Confluence mention for the episode if anyone's keeping track. With Zach, where he doesn't want to deviate from the suggested values. That's a left-brained thing. It's not that he wants to play at the exact same game every time. It's that he looks at that and he thinks logically, it says that this is the value, and it's hard.
He does that.
It's hard to deviate
games.
from.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
He does it with.
I think that's a very left-brain thing to do, but it's also a left-brain thing to do to like playing say Zombicide or the others or something like that. That's a more chaotic dice chucker that you would think is more of like creating that cinematic experience and more of a right brain thing. You can apply left brain methodology to it and be like, okay, so I have weapon A, B, or C. I've got to fight these 3 zombies. If I use weapon B, I'm going to roll this many dice with a probability of this many hits. And you can break it down and use that, like the left brain tactics of looking at the math and the odds and the probabilities and stuff like that.
Yeah. For me, I don't think that, reverse engineering a game is a necessarily a fun way to play it. I think it could be healthy as far as maybe design. It can be a way for you to, not cross over or to copy something too closely. But as far as playing goes, I'm with Russ in that I want to seek a combo that I've never seen or build a combo that just wasn't there to begin with, And when you are able to do that kind of thing, even if you don't win, that is a reward enough.
Right. So this is where Wingspan is one that I still enjoy playing after playing over 60 times.
There's our Wingspan mentioned for the episode.
Ding!
Is that it is that kind of it's a Euro, right? It kind of has that do this. There's 4 actions, pretty simple.
Yeah.
But there are 160 something cards that are totally unique. And while some of them have similar abilities, they don't all have everything on the card the same. So like someone will have more eggs but they're completely unique cards, which means every time I sit down and I'm trying to solve the puzzle or be creative, like I can play it different. Like I can see how this works with that. And those kind of games right now for me are really, really clicking well because while I don't love 4-player solitaire. That doesn't feel 4-player solitaire, even though I guess it kind of is, because we have interaction on someone takes the bird that I want. Sure. But I love playing against my previous score. Like, I like winning this game, but I want to see if I can beat 128 that Jared got.
Wingspan to me honestly feels like almost a perfect blend of the left and right brains, where there's too many cards for you to just walk into it with a plan and come at it fully left-brained, logical.
If you do that, I feel like you might be disappointed more often
Exactly.
than not.
It's going to be really hard to do that. So you've got to kind of be creative.
Unless you're
think on the
Skylar,
fly.
because he's played it twice, and he's created basically the same engine the same time. Both times, and it really pissed me off.
Well, we've talked about it. Skylar's some sort of weird
He's
game.
the anomaly.
He's like a game genie.
Yeah.
Except you don't plug him into a Sega.
So,
but like I look at Wingspan and it's like, okay, you can't go into it with a full-on plan. You've got to kind of be creative, but if you totally abandon the like left brain looking at what every card will do for you and where you need to slot it into your engine and when you need to activate it and all of that, you're going to fall apart. You're going to have basically a pretty collection of birds and eggs that will score you no points. So
yeah, I have gone in with a plan like I really want to do this, and it just hasn't worked because I haven't got the birds that I want.
Yeah, it's very much thinking on the fly, but then like immediately having to apply some sort of logic to it.
Yeah, and I think that's where I like Tapestry too, because it's the same. I think for me, it's a more advanced or more heavy Wingspan. There is a basic mold of what needs to be done, but you have variation on like what your civilization is or what your birds are. Where I guess I could try to sit down and play the exact same game, but the variety that I get will not allow the highest.
There's enough
potential.
Variation that you can't guarantee a strategy.
Right. And that's, for me, those games right now I'm really enjoying because I think it does appease both sides of my brain, right? I love the logic part. I find this funny because my 2 careers as I've had an adult, like I was over 10 years teaching psychology, working with teenagers, having fun.
Yeah.
You know, therapy, all that kind of stuff, which was very creative. And now my job is like pure logic. Just looking
it's like
numbers.
spreadsheets, right?
Yeah.
Like you're a professional spreadsheet guy.
Yeah. So it's like just a shift. And I think games kind of give you that too. I don't love going to a game that's 100% luck, but I don't like going to a game that's no luck. Like if I want no luck, I'll just play Candyland and have a predetermined game, and it won't matter what I do.
Yeah, and that's like that's what I was saying. Like you gotta find the games that kind of stimulate you in whichever way you're looking to be stimulated,
Right.
and ideally it's some blend of both.
Yeah. I think we enjoy games because of choices, right? I mean, most people enjoy games because of choices.
Yeah.
And honestly, I would say that where we talk about like the really hard, stressful choices, I feel like that's when you're pushing on the left brain because you're thinking consequences rather than. I kind of feel like the right brain sees opportunity and the left brain tends to see consequences more. You're mathing out the consequences, whereas with the other side, you're kind of creating an opportunity. Like, hey, we'll see where it goes from here. And there's certainly games that like do both and do both well. And like to me, ideally, the flow of a game. The first few rounds or the first between a third and a half of it is very much that right-brained opportunities, being creative, figuring something out. And then at some point, I like to switch gears and have a strategy and have something that I'm going for and have a defined idea and go very left-brained with it, which is honestly, that's probably why like most of the time, especially if it's a new game that we're playing, if I win it, it usually feels like it kind of comes out of nowhere because I don't really know what I'm doing for the first half of the game. I'm just trying to kind of figure it out and floating along. And then I figured something out and it's like, all right, everything is to sharpen that edge, you know?
And I think choice or like creativity is also on some sense of randomness to me in games. Like, I know I mentioned Canada. Chess is probably a better definition, one that's like no luck, right? It's full on zero luck. And I love chess. But I like games with some randomness. Yeah. Like when I sit down to chess, I understand it's like me versus you. There's no, hey, let's see what happens here.
Yeah, it's mental arm wrestling. Right. You know, it's who's got the stronger brain.
Which is great to do. Right place, right time. I love it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
but I really enjoy like when we play Dice Masters. Ooh, I have spent a lot of time on this. This is me versus you, but oh my gosh, I just rolled nothing for 2 rolls.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, all as much as I hate that, I love it too. It's what, it's what brings me back.
I mean, the same thing happens in like any game like that. You know, you pour your heart and soul into this Magic deck, and you've spent hundreds of dollars, and then you go sit down and play it, and the first game your mana screwed. You got no mana. You can't cast anything. Ugh. You can't do anything. And then the very next game, all you draw is lands. You're just mana flooded. You can't get anything going. You got no creatures. And either one of those, like, very similar to bad rolls in Dice Masters.
Yeah.
It just, you go, what did I don't even know if it works. I can't see my creation because
there's
it's
no
not happening.
Well, nothing valuable. And that leaves a very bad taste in your mouth.
Oh, it's so frustrating. Like, I learned to kind of quantify that as, especially with something that, like, I kind of create from the ground up, regardless of what game it is. In any of those competitive games, if I lose to straight up circumstance and I don't get to see what my strategy was,
yes,
I disregard it. I go, okay, I lost, and that sucks, but I can't hold it against this deck. I can't look at losing because I'm mana screwed or losing due to rolls in Dice Masters.
Yeah. And
make a judgment on what I actually created because I haven't seen what I created. You know, I created a combo. I created, for me, left brain again. I created a pattern. I created an order of things that I wanted to do. I created a script almost. And if I don't get to see any of it, or if I get to see only a very limited amount of it, then I can't accurately judge whether I succeeded or failed.
Definitely.
Yeah. See, so if we go back to Dice Masters, that's a perfect example for me that kind of pushed me out of the competitive play. Is there were like 2 or 3 cards that the whole community knew, and it was pretty scripted. Like, turn 1 you do this, turn 2 you do this, turn 3 you do this, and whoever did it first or got lucky, it was over.
Yep.
I don't see the joy in sitting down and doing that. And it's the same in Keyforge, where somebody has their deck and they've perfected it in the sense that they know exactly what they want to do when they get stuff. I much more enjoy those kind of games where it's like, I'm going to see what I can do. And even if that means that I'm going to lose, like, 30-40% of the time that I win, I'm going to enjoy a lot more, if that makes sense.
Definitely.
Like in Dice Masters, it was, oh my gosh, this card sucks. What can I do with it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when it comes to that kind of thing, the results of, what you built, if you're not getting a decent amount of actually exercising what you built, then you're not getting that feedback. And that's, one of the reasons, obviously, I mentioned earlier on in the podcast that I quit competitive, because that's just not for my brain at all. I don't handle that very well. And I think it had a lot to do with I couldn't get things to play out the way that I'd hoped most of the time because of that structured way that the competitive scene would play. I didn't get a chance to exercise my ideas because I was shut down and dead before I could even get rolling.
I feel like that's the allegory to that is you're constantly showing up and asking a question and getting 0 answers.
Yeah.
You just go, hey, does this work? I don't know.
Or I'm getting
hey, does this work? I don't know.
Or I'm getting answers to not, a question that I'm not asking.
Yeah.
And that's not going to be helpful or valuable as far as feedback goes.
Yeah, it's
And I
certainly
think
not
some of this
satisfying.
comes down to when you sit down to play a game, do you sit down to win or do you sit down to play a game?
Depends on the game.
Right. I mean, that's not to say that all left brain dominant players are only worried about winning, but there is definitely a difference, I would think, between right and left when it comes to that. I love to win. I get bothered when I don't, but at the same time, there are games in my collection that I just play and I don't care if I win or lose. Right?
Yeah.
I like enjoy the play of the game.
Yeah.
And that's what we were talking about Wingspan and Tapestry has turned into, because I just want to see how good I can do, which is much different than, like, you don't want to play TI3 necessarily and be like, I'm 6 hours in and my score's 8 like it was last time. That's great. No, I'm trying to kick your guys' trash that I'm playing, right? It's much more like an attack, and I can make decisions and choices that I can connect to that. But
Yeah.
there's just it's different.
Yeah, see, I've realized that, I have to keep that in check, and a lot of it is just, I haven't for a while, but I still like going to a store and playing a game competitively, and playing with people that I don't know, and the thing about really and I want to win, but I can't get hung up on that because I have way too abrasive of a personality without even trying, and I can come off way more harsh and mean than I mean to. And I mean, part of it is that huge potty mouth, and I tend to have an angry look on my face, especially when I'm concentrating. I can be kind of a less inviting presence than a lot of other people in the room.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to have some sort of outwardly negative reaction to losing, it's like people repellent, and I don't want to be that guy at all.
Definitely not.
I mean, that's not cool. So I've learned to try to kind of keep that in check. It doesn't always work. But when I find myself getting upset or irritated or whatever about my position in a game, that's when I try to focus on mechanics. Like when the other day yesterday playing Alien Frontiers, Alex was stomping me for the first 4 or 5 rounds. There was 2 or 3 of them in a row that he just crippled me, took my knees out. There was nothing that I could get going.
Yeah.
And I was starting to go, well, this is really cool. I just roll these dice and I can't do anything. And then I started going, calm down. It's okay. It's actually kind of cool that he can, it's not like he could plan on doing that. He's rolling dice every turn. It's not like he's going, all right, I'm going to roll these numbers and really screw over Kenneth.
He's not Skylar.
Yeah, no, he doesn't get to just choose his roles like Skylar does. So it was working out for him and it wasn't working out for me. And the more I was like, it's actually kind of cool that he can do that. And I started looking at the fact that he was making tactical decisions that benefited him, but his strategy, his overall plan wasn't necessarily to hold me specifically down. I mean, obviously his strategy was to win. Part of that is keeping your opponents down, but he wasn't targeting me. It's just how it worked out with turn order and the rolls and all of that. And my own rolls were working against me too.
Yeah.
He couldn't have beat me down like that without me rolling poorly and not being able to recover. So that's how I've learned to deal with kind of the getting mad about losing.
My anger in games, and I know we've moved on a little bit different topic, but I think it relates to that right-left brain.
Definitely.
I do get angry at the end of games when I see that I can win, like in Root, that damn game, I will be at 1 point from winning, and it's it just needs to get back to me, and I have this major anxiety in stress, and then someone will win. And then it'll be an otter, and he'll craft like 50,000 things and get a ton of points. And it's like, just give me my turn and I'll win. Or chaos, taken out at the last minute. But then if I'm taken out of a game early, like that tends to be better for me, because it's like, oh, I'm just going to see what I can do here. I'm going to see how it works.
See, and I think I do better at direct conflict games. It's like, okay, how do we win? Oh, by smashing each other in the face? Okay, of course you're going to smash me in the face. I'm going to smash you in the face. We got to smash everyone's faces and just destroy things. So it's like I don't get hung up on it. It's when the indirect things where it's like, you could have done anything, and what you did shut me down. And you may not have even realized it, because there's two people playing in between us, and it got to me. But what you did messed me up. That's
where I get upset on those games. It's like, I have a plan. As long as Tyler does what he needs to do, I'm going to get Ken. And then Tyler will do something completely different. Or I remember the first time we played Cthulhu Wars, and Zach had his rage, right? He had to spend it a certain way to stop.
Yeah, the power points.
It's like your power points. And the logical side of him wouldn't let it help everybody else. It's like, Zach, you have to do that or he wins. But I don't want to help you guys. It's like,
yeah.
So we're all going to lose because you won't do that? Oh, man, that drives me crazy.
See, when it comes to if when you were talking about root and you've got to get to your turn to win, I find that to be a rewarding type of stress. That's my kind of. I mean, I'm happy to lose a game like that, but if I'm getting my ass kicked early on, I check out, and it's hard for me to get back into it. It's hard for me to even get more involved in a game.
Yeah. See, trackers though that have a certain point to get to. Those games, I love them, but they cause me a high level of stress.
Seeing those are like exactly the type of games that I was talking about, where I start off screwing around, kind of just doing whatever, and then at some point I decide on a strategy and I go for it. And an ideal situation, you guys realize that I've figured out a strategy about 3 turns after I figured it out. When it is, I'm going, I've already set up my next couple of turns, it's happening, and there's very little you can do about it. And the best is when you guys think that I'm just settling into it when I've already decided on it and got the resources or whatever going. Those are the times where I just sort of sit back, poker face, and let you guys try and see it, and just sort of see, all right, how good are these guys going to be able to react to what I've got going on?
See, the creative side of me, though, if I have that same idea, like, ooh, I got that 3 turns from now, I'm going to do this. And then I draw a card, and I'm like, ooh, pretty shiny.
Ooh, shiny.
Totally change my strategy, and by the end of the game, it's like, I didn't have one strategy. I just had a whole bunch of ideas that didn't work together.
And that's your left brain or your right brain taking you down, because I draw something that takes me off my strategy. And shit, what a waste.
Yeah, but see, you look at it, it's like, ooh, I could do this now.
Nope. Only if it fits in the strategy. If my strategy is to do X, Y, and Z, I might be able to fit like a W in there, but I'm certainly not throwing in a P or an L. Those are way too far off.
See, this is the weird side of me, I would much rather a lot of times lose a game to make this combo that seems really cool happen. And I was that way in Dice Masters quite a bit.
Oh, yeah, I know. I've seen that.
Game ends, I lost, but you know what? I did this combo that was really cool.
I've felt like, especially with Dice Masters or Magic or anything where you're creating the deck and it's really genuinely a part of you, like I've felt that same pride. Like, oh, okay, I got my ass handed to me, but I pulled off the thing and it was pretty cool.
Yeah. And it's happened in Wingspan. I'll be like, get these birds. I'm like, ooh, if I can get this and this and this, the game ends and my score's terrible, but I'm like, I made this happen. I won't want to do that next time, but I made it happen.
Yeah.
So we were talking about with Wingspan, it's a game where you can't necessarily reverse engineer everything because of how different every game's going to play out based on the way that those cards are shuffled and stacked. Is there a game that you guys can think of that feeds just doing the reverse engineering side of things that can, I mean, obviously it's going to be a game that we're not going to be reaching for, but is there anything that you guys can think of that rewards playing the exact same strategy every single time?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean...
Depends on who you play against.
You've got to get into some of the games with zero chance, and that's not something that I'm interested in.
Yeah.
But I will say that mindset, that reverse engineering, is my approach for any kind of deck building. You know, when I used to do a lot of competitive gaming, whether it was Magic or Dice Masters or like Warhammer Champions, and the thing that I think was the hardest for me about Keyforge was that I couldn't do this. It was always, you know, hey, you got any tips for like deck building or whatever? And I was like, yeah, you decide how you're going to win and you work backwards from there. How do you want to win? You know, whether it's, you know, do you want to swarm the field with a bunch of small characters? Do you want to get a couple of really big ones out as fast as you can? Do you want to use like direct damage and spells, stuff like that? Or like action abilities in Dice Masters? You know, how do you want to win? Okay, cool. Now, how are you going to get there? Okay, now how are you going to like support that strategy?
Sure.
Okay, now you got some flex spots. What are you going to do? What are you going to throw in for like the other dominant strategies? You know,
yeah.
If you're going for putting out big giant creatures as fast as you can, what are you going to do about someone who tries to slow you down?
Yeah.
What are you going to do about someone who tries to rush the field with little guys that'll block your big guys and maybe take you out faster? You know, and then it's just, but it's always built around that central goal of I want to win by doing this thing. Everything else is in support of that, or to streamline that, or to
back it up.
It's to further the cause.
Absolutely.
You know? So I don't know about like a board game where reverse engineering is the way to go, but for me, any sort of deck, like not a deck building game, but any game where you build a deck and bring it to play, that's exactly how I try and build.
Yeah, I don't know if I have any that are fully that way. I think my more logic-based games are more, or at least the ones that I think appeal to that, are more like the two-player games that I have, Tao Long and Santorini and those kind where it's like kind of my logic versus your logic.
Oh, you need to play War Chest, dude. I feel like that's a perfect blend of both sides.
It's kind of that my logic against your logic type of thing. Star Wars Risk is that way. It's a very underrated game. But this kind of idea of logic versus logic, the ones that I have that aren't two-player, maybe Way of the Panda. I'm trying to think of like ones that don't interrupt a lot, but Way of the Panda can. What people do does affect you.
Yeah.
But it's kind of those that if it's full on 4-player solitaire, I think those are very much those cube pushers.
Yeah.
And I don't have a lot of those.
Yeah, I think that we all kind of like a little bit more variety and chaos than that.
Definitely.
And I've come around and I like more Euros than I used to. But I need some, even minimal, even if it means that you can steal the cards from me. Like, that is pretty much that, right? Like,
Yeah,
that'll
at least there's
it.
something. Yeah.
But man, I don't know. I think I'm mentally looking through my shelf. I'm like, I don't know if I have anything that you can do that. I mean, Dragon Castle, but that's really randomized when it's set up, but it's kind of logically taking stuff away. It's not so much combo. Well, maybe there's combo. I don't know.
Well, I think just tabletop gaming itself offers many different avenues to explore both sides of our brain. And often at the same time if it's a
Yeah, you can turn that shit right up to 11 if you get into RPGs.
Yes.
Like, I mean, the DM especially needs to be able to cater to both sides and be able to exercise both sides. Like me I'm not a good DM. I've done very little of it, so my perspective on that is I don't know. I almost revere the people who are good at it. I hold them in very high esteem. It's like something that I don't know that I even could achieve.
You'd probably want someone with the right brain being your DM.
You got to have both, because see, me,
for sure,
when I'm playing as a player, I love the story and the world that we create, and that's all very, very right brain. But when it comes time to do a battle scenario, and we're moving around minis on a grid, you better bring your A game. Like I don't want it to be easy, and I want to be tactical and thinky about it. I want to try and min-max every action. I have a tendency of, at times, especially if we're kind of getting our asses kicked, I have a tendency of being like an alpha gamer and table talking maybe more than I should, and being like, no, you should do this, and you've got this ability. Come on, Wyatt, do it. Hit him. And with RPGs, I really feel like you have the potential of taking that to a whole other level, and a strong DM knows how to stimulate each side for each player at the right time. Like if all you care about is the story, I need to feed you enough story so that it'll carry you through the combat. That is the only reason that, like, Tyler showed up. Russ wants story, Tyler wants combat. I need to be able to balance those so you both feel good about it.
Yeah.
I need to inject enough frequent enough combat in the story to keep Tyler's attention. I need to inject enough story into the combat to keep Russ's attention. There needs to be big combat moments. There needs to be big story moments. And I mean, the more people you add and the more like personality and profiles and stuff that you add, the more of that you need to factor in.
Yeah.
Which again is why I like a good DM is just such an amazing feat to me. And it's your blend, Russ, of both the left and right brain is why I think you'd be a great DM, and I wish you would stop screwing around and get to it.
Yeah, I think in gaming in general you need both, and that doesn't mean. Well, I should say for a great game that is that I think will go over well with the masses, it should cover some of both, right? You can't have complete chaos and expect left brain players to really be interested in it. And it's the same. I think the best or most popular games do a little bit of both. They provide that interest on both sides. Yeah. And for me, I think probably the place where left-right comes up the most is in learning games, like trying to teach someone games. Because for me, like, I can learn a game so much easier if I can look at it like a story or what, like Root, right? I could learn it better if I think, okay, so you got this faction doing this, and then the mice are uprising, and then you got this whole thing going on. Like, I can wrap my head around that.
So rather than going, the cats score points off of buildings, you need to build buildings.
Right.
And the birds score points off of taking over clearings, so you need to take over clearings. And the mice score points off of destroying people. I don't even remember. I won as the mice the last time I played, I think, but I don't remember exactly. But I remember they were a little bit more chaos. With you, it works better to say, the cats have beat back the birds who used to rule it, and they establish dominance by building these buildings, and then the birds are trying to fight back, and they need to get their nests spaced out around so they have more influence over the forest, while the mice are just the people of the land, and they're trying to fight back against both. And it works better to explain it as a story like that.
Yeah.
Than just
so if I have
mechanics.
as Root an example, it comes with a like first turns, like walk through. These are what you do. Like I when I do that, I don't get it. Like, I can't look at it and go, okay, I do this and this and this, and that gives me that. I have to look and go, well, why would I do that? What, like, what's the thought process behind that? I don't care about how I score points. Like, why would I use a strategy that does that to get me those points?
Yeah. I have a hard time as well. If I'm not able to connect a thematic mechanic to whatever I'm doing, it's hard for me to get into it, and it's hard for me to, I guess, succeed in a game.
And it can be a stretch, right? It can be a Euro that's a little bit of a stretch. Teotihuacan is a pretty simple Euro, but when I start to realize, when I can logically look at, okay, these are my workers, and I'm building a temple, like, I can relate to that so much better than I'm going to move this dice to this square and I'm going to do this. Like, both enjoyable, but as far as trying to understand the game and get better at the game, for me, it's like, I'm going to take this worker here, I'm going to ascend this worker, and then I'm going to do that, and I'm going to connect that. And then it all starts to make much more sense.
Yeah.
I kind of think that, in modern gaming, Ameritrash and Euros are getting so blended, and every game seems to borrow a little bit from either side. Like, it's hard to have a modern game that doesn't incorporate both. And I think that, whether it be intentional or subconsciously, I think a certain amount of that is the designers trying to engage both the left and right brain, the math and the creativity within the players in those games, and have a more fully engaging experience regardless of who you are, and create those options for a more right brain strategy or a more left brain strategy
for sure
within the same game.
Yeah, and I think this might be why roll and writes don't appeal to me at all. Like, there's a lot of really cool roll and writes out there. I don't have any, and I'm not interested in them.
I bought my first one, and it's Cartographers, and it's because I wanted to check out more of the role player universe. So I'm going to give it a shot. And it's something that, like, I've never played one, so I want to try it.
It seems cool, but the idea of, like, either flipping over a card or rolling dice and trying to figure out where it fits in, like, that's okay. But it's not, like, I don't love it. It might go over better with my extended family because, like, they love Sagrada. I really enjoy Sagrada, but
would you feel better if it was like big chunky pieces of plastic on a grid so that it looks like you're building let's just say a coral reef? If I was going to pick anything, I do
like reef pretty good.
That's, you're flipping cards, you're picking place for the thing, and you're trying to maximize it. So that's that's the same thing. And I know you like reef.
I just.
Yeah, it's different strokes for different folks.
Yeah. I'm not sounding like I don't want to try them, but, Gone Clever and those, like, I'm sure it's really cool, and I'll probably play it at some point.
Yeah.
But it's not part of the reason to me to do that.
Part of the reason that I only recently picked up my first one is because, honestly, the idea of a roll and write game, I was like, well, that scares me because I can't do the second part. Like, I can't draw. My handwriting's terrible.
Maps and cartographers. That seems pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, I hope.
You're creating the worlds, right? Isn't that the idea that you're creating the worlds for the role player type of thing?
Something like that.
Creating the maps, and maybe that's what they're going for eventually. In that whole world, is they're giving you every piece of that puzzle, and then eventually the fourth game is going to be that RPG book.
Yeah, that seems cool.
But yeah, the thing with, like, rolling, like, my handwriting, the art side of my brain is so bad that I was genuinely like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to be successful with these. Yeah. I don't know. And then I was looking into cartographers, and I heard some people talking about it on, like, a podcast or something, and I was like, I got faith in Thunderwork Games. I'll give it a shot. It's fairly cheap anyway. It's a small box. I'll go for it.
Yeah. Well, I'm just thinking, have I played a roll and write? And the only thing that I can think of, that's exactly it. That's the only game I can think of, and I loved it. I don't know, I don't know the last time that I played it. God, I was probably 12 years old the last time I played
But see,
Yahtzee.
the cool thing about Yahtzee is it's roll and write a math problem.
See, yeah.
Well, I think Gone Clever is pretty much that. Like,
Yeah,
it's,
I
don't
want to try
simplify
that.
it. Like, it is
Yeah.
got a lot going on there, and there's some. It's not just like you just roll your dice.
Yeah.
There's other dice actions, but
Yeah,
Okay.
I want to try that. I hear so much like universal praise about that without
sure.
quite knowing what it is. It's almost like like the Mind was such a simple game to explain that I kind of knew what I was getting into with the Mind, but I didn't quite know. Like it's hard to really know
Yeah.
what that is because it's such a unique experience, and I feel like Gens schon clever is similar to that,
Yeah.
where I just don't quite know what it is. I know it's a roll and write and score points.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want to try it. That's one that if I see it for a good price, I would probably just pick it up.
see,
and
and the
what's going on.
Mind seems like almost the total opposite, right? Like, that seems full right side to me because some people don't like it, and I'm not gonna argue if it's a game or activity because I can see it either way. It's a fun time. But you explain the rules, it's like, okay, so you can't talk and you discard cards. Like, that doesn't seem very
have you
fun.
played the Mind, Tyler?
No, I haven't.
Have you heard about it? Do you,
I have.
Do you know
I'm
what it is? I mean, you've
Familiar with the basis of what the game is.
you got
and
that
what
deck
you do.
of 1 through 100 cards,
Yeah.
and each level. So level 1, everyone gets 1 card, and without
It's almost.
saying anything, you put them
Yeah.
down in ascending order.
It almost feels like everybody's trying to be a psychic, and who's the best psychic at the table?
The psychological part of that game is so
It
awesome.
is, but it's also. I mean, it's like there's a lot of body language. It's real. It's a whether you want to call it a game or not. Like Russ said, whatever. It's a really unique experience, and it's
Yeah.
fun. It's cool, and you feel like.
Put some
it's-
good, intense music in the background
Just-
with that
just-
game. Oh, it's so good because it
Just
gets the heart rate up.
the final Jeopardy on loop.
Yeah.
Do, do,
God,
do.
no,
Dude, that would
hard
be
pass.
the most stressful thing ever.
You know, and that's a funny game in the sense that the more you play it with the same people, the better you get. I mean, that's
Absolutely.
really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
about understanding each other's cadence of when they're going to discard what numbers. Playing it with my son, my youngest son, is a nightmare. It is a complete nightmare because he'll discard a 5, he'll have a 20 in his hand, and in one game it's like 5-20, and then the next time it'll be 5-7, and he'll go 5, and then he'll hold it for like a minute. It's like,
Dude, that's how I felt
where's your cadence?
when I played with you. It was like, we'd throw down a card. It would be 5. All right, I'm gonna throw down my 15. And like, and part of it is just the difference between me and you. I tend to be a more aggressive player most of the time, playing whatever. I tend to be more aggressive, and I try to take faster turns.
Sure.
I try to think ahead, and I tend to do things aggressively. And Russ is way more methodical and way more like cerebral than I am. I mean, I think about it, but he I don't know, AP, and so playing the Mind with him, it was very difficult for me and him to get on the same like speed, because that's important. Like, you need to know that if I have if I lay down a 5 and my next number is a 10, there's only so much time I'm going to wait. So if you've got the 7, you need to only wait so long for someone else to throw down the 6. And if you have the 6, you better throw that down like now.
Right. It's about getting to understand, okay, in Tyler's mind, he's going to count at this pace. So if you play with the same group a whole bunch, you kind of start to understand. But that doesn't make any individual in that group a better player, because you'll sit down with other people and you got to figure out that cadence all over again. And it's just a really
I mean,
unique
even if
game
you
in
have
that way.
a group of 4 and you switch one of those people out, so
Yeah.
you've got 3 of the same people and 1 new person, it changes everything.
Yeah, and it's so funny when you, because the first time we played at night, I think I had Kevin get it for me at Origins. Was it Origins? Somewhere.
Yeah, I think so. I think you got it at Origins.
And brought it back, and we played a bunch that first night. And I remember one of the games, I had like 98, and Jared had 99, and I think we had like a 5-minute stare down. Like, I'm not going. You're going.
See, those are hard, but it's so much harder when the last number was 12.
Oh yeah.
When it's like, all right, 12, and you're there, and I don't know that you've got 98, but I know I've got 99. And basically,
Yeah.
what are the odds that you've got 100? No way, and you're sitting
Or-
there going, what are the odds you've got 99 or 100? I'm right there.
Or when the first card, like the lowest number is in the 30s, like you got 31 is the lowest card, and everybody's just staring at each other like, it ain't me.
It can't be.
So,
It seems like a really interesting design, and as far as it being a game or not a game, my opinion is, are you having fun? That's
it's-
where you should stop with worrying about is this a game or not.
it's a great kind of, it's a much that psychological thing going on, whereas same kind of thing with those, for me, those roll and writes where it's very logic based, and it's just like, how can I make the most points?
Yeah.
Right, as opposed to the mind where it's like, oh, I'm just gonna see what others are doing. Those to me are kind of the extremes. Both awesome, both fun, but what appeals to you more?
One of the games as far as roll and rights goes that interests me is Welcome to.
Yeah.
I've seen that one, and I kind of understand the basics of it, but I don't understand how the hell it works. I mean, I know you get the cards, but how are these cards actually, mimicking dice in that sense? And that's an extremely interesting design to me. And
I've thought about picking that one up because that's in that
one,
$20 range.
That one gets a lot of praise.
Yeah.
Like,
You're building a neighborhood, right?
yeah,
something like that. I don't know. Like, so with Roland Wrights, there was one that caught my eye like a while ago that I haven't got yet, that I will probably end up getting. Kind of, it almost rides on how I feel about cartographers. If I play it and I go, I do not like roll and writes, then it's probably done. But as long as there's something in there that I dig, I will probably end up getting Welcome to Dino World, because there's dinosaurs in it.
Sure.
It's a
Kind of
dinosaur
cool, though. I've
roll and
watched some
write.
stuff on that one. Then building a park and stuff for your dinos.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm excited to play cartographers and see how I feel about the roll and write, and see what side of the brain it tickles.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, in games like that, I feel like they're a good exercise in you can stretch the right side one playthrough, and then the very next playthrough you can stretch the left side. It's nice to see designs like that where you can exercise both, and sometimes you can play both in the same game. I think that's a decent design.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a good game to me tickles both. It's and
It has to. I can't imagine a game that's just full on chaos, and doesn't matter who's at the table. You just
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the perfect game to me is one that I can exercise either side, or I can exercise both sides and focus one way or another at any given moment. And I mean, like, a perfect game would be turn to turn. This turn I can be very mathing things out and strategic, and the next turn I can just go for something crazy, and I'm not like immediately punished for deviating from my strategy. I don't know of a game that's quite that free. I mean, you can certainly play that way if you like the sacrifice of playing with that degree of swing in your methods is you probably shouldn't be focused on winning.
Yeah.
But that would be like almost like a grail game. Like the idea of the perfect game is one that's takes 5 minutes to teach and a year to master, or 10 years to master.
Definitely.
Like it's easy enough. You can get anyone to sit down, but there's tons of depth,
Yeah.
It's, there's enough strategy for you to be really like hardcore left brain, math it out, be fully logical. Or, you can try something else and get kind of crazy, go off the beaten path and find your own way.
Yeah. I think as far as the right brain goes, one of the best exercises in gaming for the right brain is painting minis. And being somebody who I sat down and I painted the entire game of Blood Rage over a 3-week on the weekends kind of a thing, and a little bit here and there after work. And
I don't think you want to tell the listeners about this one.
Yeah, life has a way of throwing curveballs, and sometimes you hit them and sometimes you don't. I don't even, I don't feel so bad about selling it after painting it. I never got a chance to play it, and I still haven't played Blood Rage, and that...
You sold a fully painted, and just so the listeners understand, Tyler's painting skills are way up there, right? So you sold a full-on, beautifully painted copy of Blood Rage for how much?
We're not going to say. I don't want people to hate me.
Oh, they're just going to be jealous.
$50.
Oh, my gosh.
But...
Dude, I
got something out of it. The point I'm trying to make is it took me 3 weeks. And I'll be honest, the first time I sat down and painted one of those minis, I sat down with the idea, the impression that, all right, this is going to stress me out so bad that I'm going to either throw the damn thing through the wall or I'm going to have a really gloppy looking painted thing, and I'm going to go, well, the hell with this. I got one painted mini and now I'll get rid of the game. 4.5 hours later, I stood up and went, that was 4 hours? It felt like 30 minutes, and I was really impressed with the work that I'd done. I don't feel like I'm very artistic. I'm a musician, so I do have some creative tendencies, and I'm an okay musician. But when it came down to sitting down and
like
painting,
a professional sculptor. What do you mean you're not artistic? Get out of here.
I didn't find that out, though, until I started dipping into painting. And not only was it 4 hours that felt like 30 minutes, it was therapeutic. It was relaxing. It really stretched a side of my brain and exercised things that I wasn't expecting it to do.
Oh, that's what kills my quote-unquote productive time of painting all my games. I look at my shelves and I'm like, I'm never getting all my board games painted.
Well, if you quit getting more minis, it would be easier.
But the problem is like I have these like working on the River Dragon from Rising Sun right now. Like, I should just hurry, but no, of course I've got it. I want to do it exactly like I want it, which means hours. Just because like I enjoy. Ooh, what if I just do this, or what if I do this, and then like you said, 4 hours later, you're like, oh, hey, okay, and so it makes it really hard to paint a game that has 50 miniatures in any given time when you're doing that.
It's surprisingly rewarding when I sit down and I paint something to completion. It's also hard for me to paint something to completion, and now that I work in the industry where I'm making minis, I don't think I've finished a whole game or finished a project that I intended to finish since I started this job.
Yeah, the ones you're giving me are not helping because like I get distracted.
And it's good distractions because you're doing, I don't know, really amazing work with what I'm handing you. I'm impressed with what you're doing as well. It's awesome to share this with somebody else as well. I've tried to get my kids to do it, and they're really good at it for how little they've done it.
We did a family paint night the other night. That was pretty fun.
That's awesome. And I've had a couple of opportunities to paint with my kids, and they're great at it. I wish they would take a little bit more of an interest like I have, but I'm obsessive. Like you've explained you are a little bit, but I
think it comes with the territory.
I agree. And I think that there's decent avenues to express that obsession, and there's positive ways to feed it.
There's such a good feeling, though, when you finish painting a game.
Oh,
it's like,
man.
And then you buy an expansion, like, dang it.
See,
I gotta paint that too.
And that's one reason I haven't really shoveled out any more money for Anachrony, is because as of right now, it's done. I'm happy with it.
See, just listening to the way that you guys talk about painting, I mean, I've painted a total of 2 miniatures. Period.
Yeah.
I've painted 2 of them. And I can tell I am not using the same side of my brain as you guys are because you're talking about like all this detail and you keep working it and it's obsessive. For me, it's literally like, I will paint his skin and okay, all of his skin is painted. Now I will paint his shirt, red. Now his shirt is red. And now I will paint his pants black. And now his pants are black. And now I will paint his shield silver. And now his shield is silver. And I am done. Like, it's so like mechanical to me that
For the board
there's
games,
like
I've
no
had to
art.
look at going that way though, because
I
there's a difference
think
between perfection and table ready.
Yeah,
And that
I also think that
was hard
the
to
first
understand.
miniature, where you're saying the first mini that you painted, I would imagine it was one of the big monsters from Blood Rage, right?
Nope, I saved those for last because I wanted to look the best.
You're
Okay,
like me.
so my first miniature that I painted, I want to say it took me like an hour and a half.
Okay.
And I mean, it's probably because there wasn't like no creative process to it. It was literally just put paint on the thing.
Yeah.
And like I was fine with it. It looked fine. It doesn't look good, but it looks fine. You know, like it's fine.
We should have a paint with pints night and sit down and teach a couple of little, speed up effects to actually feel rewarded. Because you don't have to be, in my opinion, when it comes to painting minis, you don't have to be artistic. You don't have to really access too much of the right side of your brain to come out with some decent,
There's some tricks
quality
that make things
minis.
look really good.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, still take time, but
For
there
sure.
are tricks that make it look really good. You look at some stuff, you're like, oh my gosh, look at that. And then you learn some tricks, and it really helps things.
It does. It enhances a lot of what you're doing. And that is where I started to get into, I want to paint everything in my office. It'll take me 40 years to even get half of what I have in here painted, but I still want to do it.
See, and I think we should do a pints and paints night, and we should use that as a way to trick my wife into painting all of my board games.
Oh,
Because
hell yeah.
she enjoys the process more than I do. She likes painting. That's
sure.
part of why I even ever tried it. Because I was never really interested in it, and looked at a few things and kind of went, yeah, screw it, I'll give it a shot. And it wasn't bad. I didn't love it. I didn't love the process.
For sure.
Which is a big thing with painting. Is like whether or not you're happy with the result. If you love the process, you should be painting all of your shit.
Absolutely.
And if
It
you
is
don't
the-
love the process, that makes it harder.
It is the first art thing that I've done in my life, and I started college to be an art teacher. This is the first thing I've done in my life that I didn't like just dump, as far as throw it away. Like I draw, doodle, do that, but
Yeah.
it would kind of I'd see all my imperfections and want to dump it.
Yep.
And I can be done with the miniature and be like, I really like this.
Yeah.
Now I
and-
see mistakes.
Yeah.
And like we'll sit down to play Jared's Blood Rage, which I painted for him, and I painted it like a year ago. So I look at him like, I could do better.
Yeah.
But I've committed to myself that I'll never start over. As far as you can put it in the green, natural
Green stuff?
Yeah, green stuff, and it'll take all the paint away.
No, it's simple green.
Simple green, and
Yep.
it'll start it all over. I'm like, I'll never do that because I know myself, if I start down that path,
You're going to start doing it with all
I'll
of
be
them.
like, oh, I missed this
not all-
right here. I'm starting over.
Not only are you not going to complete all the games on your shelf like you would like to, you're only going to complete the 3 that you already have.
And then as soon
keep
as he
repainting
finishes,
them.
the third, he's going to start back over on one.
Oh man, I learned
and
a
then
lot of
two.
lessons from this last one. I better go back and start over.
One of the things that I learned from another painter is you've got to accept that as a painter you're never really done with something, but you have to be willing to move on from something. And at the same time, there's things I've painted, a really cool dwarf bust for my dad, and it sits on his shelf at home. He's proud to have it, and that's awesome. But at the same time, every time I go to his house, I'm going, Dad, I'm going to take this home because I'm not done.
Yeah.
And I need
That's-
to be done for now, but at the same time, I've learned new techniques, and I want to apply those to what he's got, because as proud as he is and as much as he shows it off, I'm embarrassed now, but when I finished it, I wasn't, and
that sort of thing is exactly where my left brain has the advantage on your guys' right brain. I look at it and I go, it is complete, period. There's no there's no need to continue creating on this. I have finished. It is done.
That's fair.
But I mean, it's different for everyone.
That's true. I really appreciate that I was committed enough to sit down and finish a game. I told myself that I was going to finish Blood Rage, and as soon as I was done, I was going to play it. And like I said, life came up, and it was one of the opportunities for me to make some money to help get me out of a hole. And I don't regret it. I don't at all regret it, because I learned so much throughout that whole process about how much I really enjoyed the process. And not only the results, but I've actually talked to the guy that I sold it to, and he's taken it to cons and stuff, and people have, said nothing but nice things, and I love hearing that kind of stuff. It's more motivation to keep going.
Man, I need to slide you some cash and let you paint my giant Cthulhu.
Oh, dude, I want to
about
so
like 3
bad.
hours. Holy crap. Set aside a month.
Absolutely, and it'd be worth it. That's being a giant Lovecraft fan. And I didn't get into Lovecraft until I started board gaming. I didn't really care about it too much.
It's a subject for a different day, but I've been wondering, how do you base that thing? Like, what's the best way?
In my opinion, I say you hit it with the rattle can. You hit it with the rattle can.
Yeah.
And then from there, you're going to, dry brush it with, like, a brush that you're going to paint your walls with, because you need something that big. But no, I mean, there's a couple of techniques I'm rolling around in my head, but if it comes down to it, I would be honored to paint that thing, because Cthulhu got me into this hobby. I find it to be a really fun project. I would love to dip into that. And God, Russ, I think that'd be kind of a cool project for both of us to work on together.
Yeah.
I've never done anything like that, but I think that's a big enough piece that it would provide an opportunity.
I did not shell out the money for that expansion.
No, I didn't get any of the game, but I am so glad I connected with you guys again, because
I'm so excited
I wanted
for that
to paint
game.
it so bad.
I should say I'm excited for the game to get here, but I also know it adds to my list of unfinished games. Like I've got Batman, Hate, Rising Sun. Like those are my current projects that I keep working on. And I will be adding another one.
That's something that I've done. I've gone through, and I've got, I think, 17 games that I have minis that can be painted or should be painted, and it started to get a little overwhelming, and I didn't like that flavor of stress, so I kind of stepped back and decided I've got to finish one project at a time, because the reward in that small completion, those little things, they carry a lot of weight.
Yeah. So I've got Batman and Hate to where I can play painted, right? Hate is an ongoing... Man, there's a lot of miniatures in that game. But if I spend all my time painting 10 clans or whatever, 10 people are going to sit down and play that right away.
Yeah.
Like, let's paint what we're going to play with, and then I'll go from there. Batman's the same. And Flood or Rising Sun, that's about ready to hit the table.
So I've got a question for you about painting, and as far as your definition of complete, do you base everything? Do you feed the base lots of details, colors? Do you go with the shrubs? Or do you just leave it with, the mini itself is painted, that's done?
I don't. That depends on the game. Like,
yeah.
For Hate, I've based a little bit to match like the desert where they're at. But then again, I the creative side of me, I worry about the gameplay, right? So those bases, they're color for each specific role that they fulfill within your tribe, right? So Youngblood 1 has an orange base, or it might be Youngblood 2. So if I fully base that, then you're not going to know what person that is. And there's 2 molds in each army, but they're different. So I based it to look orange, desert.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's that for everything. And then games like Blood Rage that I painted for Jared, it's very in the same realm as not just base, but everybody has their basic warriors. Those are just a wash, so that you can kind of look at the board and know, okay, those are this. So I pay attention very much to the gameplay as opposed to just making, like, I want to make it very simple to look at and not be like, what was that again? I mean, it's beautiful, but
Sure.
what is it? What role does it fill?
That makes sense.
So tell me, when we play like my zombie side, does a part of you die seeing that massive shambling mess of gray plastic just naked and shameful for the world to see?
What it does though is makes me think, ooh, man, I could do stuff. Like I want to try this, but then it's like, like I look at all this stuff around here every time we record. I'm like, I kind of want to paint that, right?
Yeah.
And it's but I'm used to playing. I have games that are in my collection. Like if I ever get to it, I'll paint it.
Yeah.
Like Kick Ass and
For
that
sure.
kind of stuff. But you know what? They're good to play without it. And I want to play. I'd rather paint something like Rising Sun that has massive miniatures and I don't know. I mean, I buy a lot of Command games, so adds a lot of painting.
Yeah. I think one of the things that a game, as far as requiring painting goes, with Simon, I think they provide such a quality mini that they cry to be painted more than, say, even the
Right.
the Hellboy game that I've got. They're good minis. They're really quality, but some are better than others.
So this was my thing with Hate, right? My idea was to do like I did with Blood Rage, in the sense that these are all pretty basic warriors. I want you to look at it and tell what they are. Problem is I got those miniatures, and they're amazing sculpts.
Mm-hmm.
Like they have little detailed skulls on everything. And
Yeah.
it's like, this sucks because I'm gonna have to put in all of my work. Like, I want to make sure that those sculpts get what they deserve.
Yes.
And so I see a lot of hours in that game.
Yeah.
Which I'm okay with because I want it to be gorgeous. But then it's like, it's going to be in a box. How can I display this? And I don't know if I'll ever be able to.
I will say that if there's one takeaway from the overall conversation of like left brain, right brain in gaming and stuff, we can absolutely say that if there's ever a recording that I can't show up for, you guys should talk about painting, because this is like spun fully out of control. Now it's just paint talk.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
will say
it's super interesting. That's why I'm just kind of sitting back and listening. But I'm like, oh, we're supposed to be talking about the thing.
Well, I love,
and this is a lot of material that could be another episode.
That's true.
I love to sit down though, and the right side of my brain is like, I want it to be pretty. I think that's some of the stuff that I struggle with terraforming Mars. Like the others was a fun game, but now that I have it fully painted, like I love playing the others, having like feeling immersive in the world. Where I don't know if left brain players always need that. Not to say they don't like it, but their version of that, I think, is the metal coins, and which I love too, by the way. But the metal coins and all that kind of stuff that adds to it, but not kind of the creative part of it.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I am the type of person like I've basically stopped going to like Comic-Cons and stuff like that because I end up spending a ton of money on art. Like on art. Like I cannot do art, so I buy art, and I value it. Like I don't have a problem spending money on art, and I love good art. So I fully appreciate it, but at the same time, maybe because I am as left-brained as I am, I can see right past it and just not care that much. And I mean, some of my favorite games are not pretty at all, and couldn't, like, I don't know what it would take to make them pretty, but it would take a lot more money than buying the game itself.
Oh, man, a pretty game like Parks. I love playing that thing, and it's just fun to look at. Gameplay's great. Enjoy it. But, man, it's like, oh, look at that park. That's so pretty. Maybe I could get that for my wall.
I think as far as your appreciation of art goes, I think that it requires enough from the right brain to be able to actually, I don't know, appreciate it, because you know what you like and you know what you don't like. So that you have to access enough of the right brain to really, I don't know, sink your teeth in and to be willing to throw money at.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Thanks again for listening. Please rate and review the show on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, or whatever podcatcher that you use. Everywhere really does help, but mostly it's iTunes.
Yeah.
You can also find us at thelategamepodcast.com and on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at The Late Game Podcast. Thanks again for staying up with The Late Game.
Thanks. Either of you ever play bongo? Bongo? You bongo?
What'd you call me?
You bongo?
No?
No, I have not.